So, welcome back to another episode of our podcast, Color Him Dads. Today, I have two guests. One is one of DADS' key guys, Gregory Adams. And then we have another guest, Elijah. He's one of the fathers that participate in Gregory's classes. These guys have been teaching fatherhood classes for pretty close to 4 years now, and this Elijah is one of the graduates out of the class. Remarkable young man and a remarkable story. And I think I found that it was interesting enough to be told on podcasts because it just doesn't get any better than this, from father to son. It's a remarkable story, and I'm sure you'll agree with me that it's remarkable when you hear it. So I just want to take a moment to share the fact that the great work that my team here, Gregory being one of the team members, that we've told his story, but we never really talk about the work that he does. He and Pastor Larry Brooks, do in the classroom. And so here's an opportunity for you to not only meet one of the graduates of the class, but hear about some of the work or some of the transformational work that these guys do in the class and how it helps these guys. You'll hear that firsthand from Elijah. And so I'm excited to get this show on the road, and I'll, Gregory, turn it over to you. I'll let you introduce, and I'll just kind of make my way in the conversation as it goes forth. Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me as part of this podcast. I just love the opportunity to talk about the work we do and how rewarding it is, and to sit in the room with the young man that I've been able to just walk really closely with. There's no one higher or lower than anyone, but I've just had a natural connection with this particular young man who reminds me so much of myself, and I see a lot of myself in him at 25, and I would have loved to have a mentor or somebody to speak into my life when I was 25.
Ain't that the truth?
So when I see him, it's like, I got to help this young brother stay on track. I see his resilience. I've seen him go through some court challenges. I've stood by him, spoke to the judge on his behalf, which was really an honor that he thought enough of me to ask to come to court with him. He was looking at some prison time, and I've been in those shoes, so it was a no-brainer. Of course I will, and it wasn't just me filling in for him. I actually got to speak on what I saw, some of the great challenges, and watch him go through some of his highs and lows and be right by his side. So
let me ask you a question. We both know a little bit about our journeys, right? Did you ever think your journey, well, let me rephrase that. So doing DADS, my wife Jeanette and I used to go into the halfway houses. In fact, the Bishop Lewis and the Reynolds were two of the halfway houses we went into. And we started teaching classes in the very early days of DADS and doing DADS. We were going into taking my little curriculum, and Jeanette would do the child support paperwork, and I would teach the class on the curriculum. And that's where I ran across Gregory. Now, we went to high school together, but I hadn't seen him in 30 years. And all of a sudden, I go into the classroom. He comes, pokes his head in, and he says, "Man, can I be in your class?" And certainly you can, And we kind of rekindled this relationship that we had years and years ago. And then Gregory graduated out of the program, was able to help you get a job, and then you showed up at DADS one day, didn't you?
that's right.
In fact, he caught a cab from the halfway house, not to home, but to DADS. That's never happened to us before, right? And it was very obvious then that we needed to find a place in DADS for him and what he was doing, because his experience for some strong reason or another, I felt would pay off one day. You know, I don't know how I felt that, but.
And I think it just had to do with identifying with some of these men that may be having some of the same challenges that we're able to overcome. How can we be helpful to these young men? What can we bring? So you may have saw some of that. It was just and I really, honestly, I could feel a strong, your spiritual walk, which really attracted me because I knew it was that time. I had a unbelievable experience, and God revealed himself to me and told me there had to be some changes and that I accept him and surrender. And when I saw your spiritual walk, that was very attractive to me. And I knew I had to just stay close to DADS, you, Jeanette, and DADS organization. So when the opportunity came to get on staff, that was a no-brainer. I was executive chef at another company, and this opportunity came, and I jumped on it. So pleasure to be here.
Well, I got to tell you, the pleasure is DADS because of this young man sitting right next to me. You know, your journey made it possible for you to sit in the seat that you sit here in at DADS and able to really connect or reconnect by telling your story and the journey that you had to go through and the disconnect from your own children. You know, sometimes it's hard for people to really believe what you're saying if you ain't been through what they've been through, right? It's a lot easier for people to believe what you say when you can show them or point them to you and you having or have been gone through the same dynamics that they're going through.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, I wanted to make sure that the audience knew that you're not just a facilitator here, but you were a client at one time, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like the hair club.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the class and how you got connected to Isaiah.
So Elijah. So what it was is just doing classes. I mean, we facilitate. We try to help men understand their essential roles in the family and how important it is that they are part of their child. Sons and daughters need both parents, and for whatever reason the separation is there, we try to mend that. So we focus on the fathers, helping them understand their roles. We've had close to 120 men graduate our class. Elijah's one of them, and he thought enough of the class that he has taken it a second time, and which we've seen on several occasions where guys feel like a lot of information is coming. Sometimes it's coming so fast. Let me get another version. Let me hear it again. So that's the great thing. And then to see him, like I said, his tenacity and what he wanted to do and be involved in his son's life. If the class was what it took, he wanted to get all the information he could get. So he was prepared when his son came to him, which I'll refer to him and let him tell the story. But I got a chance to sit with him during his he had a parenting plan and a temporary parenting plan hearing, and I just been walking with him. I wanted to be a part of that. I was at that hearing as well and got to see how things worked out in his favor. And I'd like to just let him talk more about what it meant to him being able to reconnect with his son.
Man, I would just say, just to describe the moment reconnecting with my son, I don't have the words to describe it. Like there ain't even no words to describe that feeling. It was just such a great feeling, and even a sad feeling. It was just so many emotions I felt just finally seeing my son for the first time in 2 years. Like it almost felt like I was re-meeting him in a way, because I didn't have no updates on what he looked like. I ain't heard his voice. I didn't know nothing of him. So like, all my memories and images I had of my son was when he was 1 year old. So fast forward 2 years later, he's a 3-year-old now, and it's just my first time seeing, talking anything from him. It was really just crazy. Like, wow. Man, you done grown so much. It really almost made me sad. Then I reminded myself, like, but I done grown so much too. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so it was recent. I just had my son for the first time just this past week. So we went and kicked it. We done did all types of fun activities, just was having fun, just bonding with each other. And it was just such a beautiful experience, man. Like, it just really made me so happy. And it reminded me that, like, all the stuff I went through was for a reason. And, like, kind of, like, going back to what you were saying, like, even with Greg, your journey, like, I just want to remind people that, like, your struggles and your pains is not in vain. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how God is going to use you and use what you went through, how he's going to use it for you, like for something that's going to benefit you, you know what I'm saying? And like you were saying, one thing that really had me stick around this program was just being able to relate to a brother like Greg, you know, that done walked my shoes and been through similar situations to where it's like, okay, he know what he talking about. I know he know what he talking about. It just was a natural connection, like you said earlier.
That's right.
It wasn't forced. It wasn't nothing. It just flowed organically, and that's what I really loved about it. Because, you know, a lot of the things we look at as bad, God could turn around and use that same thing we look at as bad as good in a way you would have never have even imagined. And it's just so crazy, you know what I'm saying? That's how I know God is real, because he done took so many downs and turned them up, you know what I'm saying? So it's just crazy, man.
So I wanna poke at you a little bit. You know, I remember a couple times you came in here, man, you was done. You didn't want nothing to do with none of us. You didn't want nothing to do with Talk about that, man.
Yeah.
Talk about that in detail, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a process. Like this, just anything you're trying to obtain that's worth having, it's gonna be a process. It's not just gonna be just some little quick little script that you can follow to make it happen overnight. And this wasn't no overnight journey. You know what I'm saying? We done been locked in now for almost a year. Yeah. So it's actually been a year. It's been a year now. So, and that's just a straight work. That whole year we've been working every 2-3 times a week. We was pulling up, and you know there was always a hurdle. There's always a barrier, and you know when you putting all this work in and just to get knocked down, man, like you seen, there was times, man, I was ready to crash out. You know what I'm saying? Greg chasing me down the street in his car, like get in the car, get in the car. I'm like, no, I'm not getting in, bro. I'm tired of this, bro. You know, but it's just staying with it, you know what I'm saying? You can feel angry, because we're humans. You're going to feel emotions. You can feel how you feel, but you got to regroup and remember what you're doing this for. Don't get distracted. Don't get too far gone that you forget what you even doing this for. You got to stay focused, because if you ain't got no focus, then you don't know where you're going. You're just going to be lost, and you're just going to get distracted. So, man, I just stayed dedicated to it, man. I just knew I wanted to be in my son's life, and I would endure whatever I had to endure to get back into my son's life. And I never let that, no matter how angry or discouraged I got, I never forgot what I was doing it for. So no matter how far out I went, that's what always reeled me back in was, okay, hold on, but remember who you're doing this for. You're doing this for Kenzo, my son. Like, this is what I'm doing this for. So you can't be worried about you. You got to be selfless. You know what I'm saying? You got to realize there's bigger things at stake than your own little
yes.
Yeah.
You know, that's great, because sometimes you can get lost in it. I remember when I was fighting for my kids, going through the system, the folks would make me angry in the courtroom and stuff. And I remember one time I just stormed out. I went past my mom's, my wife, and everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, I'm sick of this. And this little lady followed me out. I heard these little footsteps behind me, right? She said, Marvin, can I talk to you a minute? I was like, what do you want? Like that, right? And she said, you're too close. Don't lose it now. She said, you're paying attention to everybody in the courtroom except the person you need to pay. Pay attention to the judge.
Facts.
That saved my life.
And real quick, that's a real good point when she said, don't lose it now. Yeah. Because that's when the biggest tests are going to come, when you've been grinding, really putting in that work, and you done went all the way, you like that close to the finish line. That's when everything's finna try you. That's when the devil is really gonna just start panicking, getting desperate, just start throwing stuff at you, just trying to get you to slip up. But you gotta stay focused.
You gotta stay focused on, man.
And that's what it is.
That's when you know you're a true soldier, because you'll get close to that line and almost, and then you gotta remember, and that's what I did. I had to remember that was my kids at stake, you know. I had 4 of them in the system at the same time, right? That's what gave me the ability to do this, because I knew who's out there to tell cats You know, there was nobody there to tell me. This little lady who was part of the courtroom, I call her my angel. If she was to stand at that door right now, I wouldn't know who she was. You know what I'm saying? But I remember those words, and those words were powerful for me. And I remember Gregory telling you them words, like, hold on, man. Don't let this thing, you know, we sometimes it just takes somebody that believe in you for you to believe in yourself.
That's right.
Feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, you be ready to cut it all off and do whatever, but that one person, Gregory saw that desire when you sat down in them tables with him and filled out that paperwork. That's what told him how much you cared for your son, right? So if you ran across a moment where you lost sight of that, you had Big Bro to tell you, listen, man, you had this father figure to tell you, partner, you getting ready to roll off the table for all the wrong reasons. You know what I'm saying?
And you know, that's something that we say again and again, can't say it enough. What's in the best interest of that child? And if you stay focused on that, you're ready to sacrifice and do whatever it is that is necessary. And I watched him on several occasions where he was struck from the calendar and they messed the paperwork up and didn't do the timing right just when he had his hopes up, and I felt so bad. But I tell you, when I drove up on him and told him to come on, let's get in the car, and he told me no, he didn't want no parts of that, my feelings were hurt because I'm so tied to him, but I understood his pain. But I was like, bro, whatever you do, stay on point. It's going to work out for you, you know. Trust the process. That's what we'd like to say. Don't rush the process. Trust the process. And he came back to class and was able to share that with some of the men, understanding that patience doesn't always work out when you like, but if you stay patient and stay in the fight, don't give up. So when he was able to walk into that classroom last week with his son in his arms, the hope that it gave to all the other men in class that that's me someday. I'm going to have my son. I'm going to hold my son as well, because he was able to tell the story how many times the door got closed in his face, but he wouldn't quit. And I just admire him for that to no end. So I can't say it enough how much I appreciate him and how he just would not take no for an answer, his resilience.
So before we wrap up here, I want to tell you, we honored you at this past year's banquet, right? And I think there's probably 300 or 400 people in the room, but you blew that room away.
Yes.
Because you told them that you had been going to school and that you had graduated and got a degree.
Got my AA degree.
Yeah, and nobody expected to hear that. No, including me. You know what I'm saying? I like to think I keep my, finger on the pulse, right? You know what I'm saying? But that blew me away. I was like, what? But I tell you, even more than that, the biggest gift you gave to me by being in the room. So having your son is your gift to you, but your gift to dads was when your mother and your grandmother came to see us, right? And I tell you, that was, we like to think that what the work we do here is generational. You feel what I'm saying? It's, the father passed it down to the son and the son passed it down. But I never expected it to be the other way. You feel what I'm saying? And when your mother came and said, I want to thank you for the work that you do with these young men, and my son is one of them, and then her mother came and said the same thing, man, I was blown away. That ain't never happened. But here was the thing that blessed me the most. Your mother sent me a card. Your grandmother sent me a card. And in the card, man, she had a $50 check. I'm framing that and putting that on my wall in my office, man, because there's no greater reward for that. I would never cash that check for nothing in the world, because the thought of it needs to be right there. That's why I get up to do the work that I do. That's why, for people like your grandmother to appreciate. I talked to her on the phone. I asked her would she come do a podcast. She told me she would.
Yeah. She was supposed to be here today.
Yeah. Here's what she said to me. She said, I wish I had all the money in the world, because I would pay for everything you guys need to do, right? Yeah. And I told her, I said, you already have given me all the riches in the world. You already have given me everything I need to do to continue to do this work and do it even better now, because of the desire she has in her heart for the work. And I see where that desire comes from. It comes from this young man that's sitting next to me. And I could tell the lights that you've brought into their life, right? Mm-hmm. Man, I've been a young man. I know it was a whole lot of people I've made unhappy. You feel what I'm saying? But I know the day that the work that I do has made people happy, okay? Yeah. So I know and I'm telling you, you have made your mother and your grandmother superiorly happy. For the work that you're doing, and the fact that you're able to bring your son home and give your grandmother and your mother access. Yeah. Come on, man. Tell me about that, man, as we get ready to close here.
It's like, man, I'd say it's like winning a trophy. I feel like it's really like sports, you know. It's like you playing on a team, whatever sport it is, and you grinding that whole season, all these years, you know, just hopefully win that championship, you know. And, you know, there's players that ain't never won a championship, then grinded their whole life. So, like, that's how I look at it, as I done won a championship, you know? And now from that point on, like, I'm trying to keep winning championships. Amen. So there ain't no satisfaction, you know, just being satisfied or complacency. Like, okay, we good now. Now we going to keep on going.
Amen.
And we still focus, you know what I'm saying? This is... My favorite player was Kobe, you know, looking up, you know, he got that one little commercial where he's like, job finished, job not finished, you know. After he won the championship, he like, nah, we not done, you know, that's how I'm feeling, like, we gonna keep going up. And but to describe the feeling, man, it just, I can't even describe it, like, it's just all up in here, you know, it's just all up in here, just straight feelings, just happiness, just, man, just motivation, you know. I'm just blessed. I'm blessed. It's a blessing to finally have gotten here. We done put so much work in, man. I appreciate y'all. Yes. Real days in, days out, you know, like, we know what happened, like, outside of this podcast and camera. Like, there's real work that was put in, and to finally see the fruits of our labor. It's amazing.
Well, man, listen, the podcast is the opportunity for you to share your story with other cats who might think that the hope, there is none.
There's
hope.
What
I'm saying?
Yeah, there's hope. And for sure, trust me.
I know my hope happened 25 years ago, but we need them to know that it's still a thing going on right now today. You feel what I'm saying?
Day, yeah.
And you're able to be that voice to be able to do that for us. So that's how I appreciate you. I can't even begin to tell it to you. And every time I see you, I see your grandmother and I see your mother, right? And I know that that's the extension of the championship. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That championship trophy you got, to me, that's them. And what does that do for Marvin and Jeanette Charles at DADS, Divine Alternative for Dads Services? It says that the desire that God gave us 20 plus years ago, I understand that we answered that call, and because we answered that call, we're able to sit next to a young man like yourself, right? Yeah. That can now step to the plate and be what you know God called you to be, that father, right?
Absolutely.
That son, that grandson, right? Mm-hmm. And listen, man, you're going to pave the way for a whole lot more cats, right? I'm on the backside of the mountain coming down, but you're on the front side going up, man. Just keep going up for us, man.
Come on, you already know.
Yeah. What about you, Greg?
I agree, and like I said, it's just can't say enough about his tenacity. And what he shows is that at all costs, just stay in there, stay in the fight. Things don't always go your way, and he's been able to apply that to his life. That because we are in conversation all the time, and he's forever sharing with me that he's using these experiences, even just as we shared on the ride over here, talking about purchasing a vehicle. It didn't work out, the timing. He understands timing and God's timing, and how important it is to just continue to be the best father, the best man he could be, and all the other stuff will take care of itself. And I just love the way his outlook is on life. And I see him growing every day, every conversation. We started this thing where we have this vocabulary where we just have the word of the day. He and I have a word of the day. I can't remember, but we'll just come up with something. What was the meaning of that? And he'll look it up and share it with me. Yeah. That's just something that he and I just have a tendency to. So, just growing together. It's an incredible friendship, relationship. So.
Well, guys, I think we're winding down to that time. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you, Greg.
Yes.
And Elijah, I want to tell you how much I really appreciate you and your family and the work that you've done. You deserve all that you're getting. And we have a saying around dads, and that is, and I'm going to share it with you, you haven't seen nothing yet, right? Just continue to keep being what God called you to be. Number one is that father, right? And there's a lot more coming to you, man, all right? The joy of fatherhood is watching your shorty grow. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Take his first stumble, take his first all of that, right?
Yeah.
And you get to be there, so he stumbles into your arms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That all of those things, man, you haven't seen nothing yet. So I want to just thank everybody for watching our podcast, Color Him Dads. This is just an awesome opportunity to share with our audience the work that we get to do here at Divine Alternative Dads Services. And I'm glad that you tuned in to our podcast, Color Him Dads. Thank you again, and look forward to our next episode.